Buonasera, benvenuti, ciao. This is Massi from Europe Wedding, as usual. It's Friday, nice day of the week, so I'll give you a little bit of time to have people getting online. We have some already with us. Hello, ciao. Ciao Lori, ciao Anna Maria. So, today is Friday, very nice day of the week, and even nicer because this weekend is going to be my wedding. My birthday, sorry. Wedding, it's always on my mind. My birthday, and as we wait, so basically, my wife has denied me access to our basement since last week. So, could mean that after, well, 40 and over years, I'm getting a pony, maybe, but we'll see. If I do, we might have a special guest next time, but we'll see. In any case, we are about to get started, so as usual, grab a drink, coffee, glass of wine, whatever pleases you. And before I introduce you to our guest today, I wanted to remind you that we have a little giveaway for those who follow us. So you only need to literally watch our live online. And since we have a lot of people actually following, please leave simply a hello, a little hand, something. So the more lives you follow, the more times your name is going to be in the pot. And from there, now I can tell you, we are going to send you home some nice champagne. So at the end of our live time, at the end of May, we're going actually to be a little longer because we have lives planned with different people, very interesting, until July. But at the end of May, we will select one of our followers and we will send you home literally some champagne. So you only need to say hello and watch our lives. Today, our guest is going to be quite special, as usual, of course, and we are going to talk with Marina from Fattoria Lavacchio. Fattoria Lavacchio is a farmhouse in Tuscany, and of course, farmhouse not all over the world matches with wedding, but Tuscany is very peculiar because in Tuscany we have mainly three different types of venues. We have castles, we have villas, and we have farmhouses or let's say popular housing from the past centuries. Now, castles, of course, have always been preserved in the same way that they have been constructed. Villas are usually the villas of the noble families that used to rule a specific area, specific valley, and those as well have been preserved in the same way. The third type, the one that we are going to see today, are the farmhouses. Those have been, of course, restored to keep the style and the atmosphere of the region. So we still have the typical bricks, the typical scenery, the vineyards all surrounding. But the venues, of course, have been restored to be proper destinations for tourism. And these sometimes are the most typical of the area, the ones that have most history. Ciao Marina, thank you. I will be with you in just a second. So, Marina is with Fattoria Lavacchio, and she is going to be telling us a little bit about the region, the venue, and a lot of insights. So, without further ado, I will just welcome Marina with us, and she will be, hello, ciao. She will be shortly here. Ciao Marina, buonasera.
Hi, hello. and thank you for the invitation. It's really a pleasure to be with you.
Well,
And
thank you very much. Likewise, absolutely.
so
So,
I hear your introduction. I thought it was really interesting. And so, what would you like me? Would you like me to start just talking a little bit about it, or would you like to ask me anything?
absolutely yes, but not until I tell you that the background is already spectacular and lucky you, outdoors, flowers, and
This is my house.
it couldn't be any more Tuscany than that.
This is my house because I live also in the hills of the Chianti, so I'm very lucky actually. And we live in the countryside, so this is just to stimulate people to go away from the city and to come to the countryside because it's really nice. Even in
Absolutely.
the
No, sorry,
so
I didn't want to interrupt you, but Marina, yes, please, if you would like to tell our viewers a little bit about your area, your venue, just a little intro about everything that is around you, literally.
thank you very much. So first of all, Lavacchio is I am the responsible of the weddings and events in Lavacchio. It belongs to a family. But like many places in Tuscany, and this is very nice to know, many venues, many places, many countryside houses are borgs that were there from the 15th century, from the 10th century, and even before. So the people, in this case, for example, we are talking about a venue that belonged to the Strozzi family, which were one of the important families from Florence. I don't know if you have seen the Medici, there are some films about it. Strozzi were the friends, and they were in the same period of the Renaissance. All this family had country houses in the countryside for the suppliers, for the wine, for the oil, the grain, and also to escape every once in a while. And this is the nice thing about it, that Tuscany is made of countryside, different spots and places. We have Siena area, we have Chianti area. Here we are talking about the Chianti Rufina. Chianti Rufina, Chianti, we all think about the wine, but it's because Chianti Rufina is one of the first places that was declared a region for the wine. With Chianti Classico, Colli Fiorentini, there were three places that Cosimo the king said, here the wine is so special, the place is so important that I want to declare it region, area with a name. So this is interesting. And it's also the mood and the feeling that you can I don't know, you can breathe when you are in this area here, because it's not a place, but it's the entire thing. What is surrounded us, the venues in general. Lavacchio, of course. I love Lavacchio because Lavacchio is really big. It's an entire hill. It's not just a little place. It's like a borg with a very, very antique wine cellar from the 15th century. There is a big cedar tree, for example, that it was planted nearly 300 years ago. And I'm going to tell you something about this, because in all these big houses, when the last child that was going to heritage the entire thing was born, the important one, they used to plant a cedar tree. It's like a symbol of life, is the tree of the family. So this is something interesting about, for example. Then another thing interesting, just not only, again, Lavacchio, but the nearby as well, there is a windmill. There's still working, a windmill that is still working that has been restored with a Leonardo da Vinci's draw of engineering. And this is because in the old times, windmills were not only to make the flour, but they were also used to communicate. Because, you know, they have the wings like this, and depending how they used to put it, like Morse, like a little bit like the Morse communication, they used to tell the other people in the valley that could see the windmill, because it was really on the top of the hill, it's still there. They could tell them maybe there was a child born or somebody was getting married, come to the party. They used to invite people, they used to do the harvesting together. At the end of the harvesting, there was always a party, a big dinner on the countryside, and they invited all the neighbors. And this is the style of the things that you find here. We have many people come to drink.
Sorry, Marina, you were mentioning Leonardo, and there was something quite unbelievable that I wanted to mention, because A while ago, we first met with a couple from Florida that wanted to plan their wedding in Tuscany, and we were around Florence visiting venues, and so one venue, the manager was telling us, so this is where Leonardo had his first flight from this hill to the center of Florence. Then we moved out to another venue, and it was the summer residence of Dante and Beatrice, still with the plaques on the wall in marble with the dedication from Dante. And this couple ended up choosing this villa. And when we were talking about the invitations, I said, you know, without spoiling too much the surprise, the exact address, because you're coming from the US, you don't need the street address. Just tell them that it's Dante's summer villa. And talking to you a few days ago, you were mentioning also something extremely interesting about Leonardo surrounding your venue.
Absolutely, absolutely, because this area is an area that in which really all these people lived, worked, and invented things. Leonardo da Vinci loved Tuscany, and he painted La Gioconda, Mona Lisa, just nearby. We have a valley, Valdarno, where there are some falls because Valdarno was a lake many millions of years ago, and the water went away. And there are the cuttings of the land that if you watch the Gioconda painting, in the back you can see those because it was painted there. And also there is a bridge, is Ponte Buriano, we call it, it's a Roman bridge, and it was still there. It was already there when he lived. He used to pass a lot of time in this area because he loved Tuscany, and it inspired him many things, the studies of the nature, the studies of the body. And there are many curiosities about Leonardo da Vinci, but not only him. For example, if you love painting and you like pictures and you go to the museums or just have one at home and you like it, Masaccio was a very clever young boy, and he invented the perspective. In the 1300, in that time, the paintings were flat. You could see the religious paintings. And they were really flat. There was no perspective. And he decided to invent the perspective. And also, revolutionary boy, he changed the course of the painting. He changed completely the way of painting because he painted the Madonna with the face of his mother. And there was a revolution. It was the church was really angry about this. So he died when he was 27, and everybody knew that he was killed. But he had many followers, and they continue with this perspective way of painting and all these changes. And he changed it completely, the way of painting. And the first picture, absolutely, is in Reggello, nearby. And it's Trittico di Masaccio. So just to tell you, people, we can talk about many important people that lived in this area. We have, again, Medici family. We have Marsilio Ficino, big philosopher. I could give you a long list of people that lived in these areas.
This is exactly, you know, we have had some guests in the past weeks about photo, hair and makeup, and so on. But I wanted to start giving our followers and viewers an insight on Italy, speaking with you, because Tuscany is literally the center of history, the heart of Italy. Of course, a lot of people know about Rome, the history of Rome, the capital and everything, of course. But Tuscany, throughout the centuries, has had a huge influence throughout Italy. So talking about Tuscany is, at least to me, and correct me if you feel differently, and Capri Star Tour says, don't forget the island of love, Capri, of course, yeah. Italy.
Beautiful.
Italy, it's too easy to forget different corners because every corner is beautiful. If we have to choose a starting point, personally, I chose Tuscany because what started in Tuscany spread out throughout all of Italy. And this also is very well reflected on the food. Wine, of course, we know. Well, let's say the starting point is Chianti. Chianti. If you're over 18 or 21, depending where you're from, I think Chianti you know about. Then we can go into Brunello, Sassicaia, Vino Nobile, but wine, food, Tuscany also has just as much history about art than it has about food and culinary traditions.
Yeah, not only. I want to tell you something else very interesting. All these places, and Lavacchio is one big example, they are really eco-sustainable. They are eco-label. Many are, for example, Lavacchio is eco-label. Many are organic. Most of the places work in a sustainable way. We have a lot of this sensibility here. So when you come to one of these venues, when you are with us and you live with us for those 2, 3, 4 days, you have the opportunity to try the tradition, to try the real organic local products. Everybody grows its own. We have an hort. People eat really the food of the hort, even if we have a big party, like a big 150 people or 200 people wedding. But people are going to eat, to try homemade pasta, the real wine coming from the wine cellar, fruit and vegetables, seasonal, and the kilometer zero. And this is very important because the flavor, when you have a glass of wine, you are not drinking a liquor, you are drinking the place, you are having it in the sunset, watching and with a view of vineyards, in the vineyard often. Many experiences are real. It's not a show, it's life, it's how we live. So this is something interesting. People have the opportunity, even if for a few days, but they have the opportunity to live a dream in a very calm, relaxing place where they can enjoy riding a horse, or they can just lay by the pool, and watching the views, or just go for a walk, or learn about wine, learn about extra virgin olive oil. There are many cooking courses, but not because we want to cook, because we want to teach people how to do things. People go away that they know that they have eaten pasta, but they know how it is made, for example. So this is
Exactly. Sorry, Marina. And Capri Star Tours, of course, in Capri, was mentioning that cooking classes are now the trend with them in their area. And I am going to get to it just in a second together with you, Marina. But something that might be helpful in understanding how important it is to have something that is local, and by local I mean literally that was picked a few steps away from your table, is that when you buy wine, they tell you that the more the wine travels, the more it suffers. So if you produce Chianti in Tuscany and you bring it to Milan, Lake Como, let's say 400 miles away, 450 kilometers, something like that away, the wine is still great, but not as great. If you bring it to the US, unfortunately, it suffers a bit, still a great product. So you can just imagine what it is like to drink a glass of wine, as an example, that literally grew in grapes just steps away from your table, moved to the cellar, steps underneath you, and then was put in a bottle and moved few steps back to the table. So just to give an idea to the people watching us, if you want to tell us literally a list of products that are within your venue for them to understand how much can be literally produced on site.
Yeah, we have. Okay, there's many things actually. First of all, wine extra virgin olive oil are the king and the queen, we can say, because wine is a winery, is a tradition, and there are even very, very, very antique and old vineyards, and is like a way of life. So the vineyard accompanies life, people, and is like an entire year. You see changes. When you make the wine, then it gets into the barrique or it gets into the tone, and you just, it's like a procedure. It's like a baby. You make it grow slowly. It passes the time, and then by the time you open the glass of wine, it's like a ceremony, and it's real like this. Again, what I want to tell people is that it's not a liquor. It's really a part of the life of the people. Extra virgin olive oil is similar, because the olive trees, you must know that we count them and we know exactly how many there are, and the government knows exactly how many trees there are because they are protected. And the trees, again, the olive, we cut, we take care of the olive. The olives are ready. Then we take it the day you pick them, and they're picked by hand. Even in big venues, they're picked by hand. You go straight away to the mill, because you don't want it to oxidize, because the product must be perfect. Then we have, for example, with part of the wine, we make, for the Chardonnay, for example, we make juice, organic juice. So when you have a juice, a glass of juice, it's real juice from the fruit. It's not sugar plus 20% of the juice plus water. No, you're having a glass of grapes. And we have flour. We have the windmill, we have the flour, and we make the bread with the flour every day with the natural yeast, like our mothers used to do. Every day, even we have 100 people, bread is made for everybody like that. Then we have the cheese, the nearby farm. We don't have cows or sheep, but we have nearby farms, organic, and every day we get the fresh milk and the fresh cheese and the seasonal cheese as well. Then we have fruit and vegetables, because we have the orts and we have the trees there. So practically, I could say 90% of the things that you have in our venue come from the venue or nearby neighbors that work with us. Even if it is very small, for example, we have fruits from the forest, like strawberries, blueberries, that there's a couple of people that take care of them, and they pick them naturally, and they bring it to us for the breakfast to put it together with the other fruit. And yogurt is made fresh. So I can tell you, it's difficult to keep on the diet in these places, because it's like everything is made homemade. Then we have our cook Antonella. She's like the mattress of the place, and she makes the sauce, meat sauce, like in the old times with the pasta. And you can just go around and feel this like this. I tell you, for me, it's difficult because I am very. I love food. So, and people that come to us is like having breakfast, for example, in the terrace or outside in the garden, with all these yogurts, fruits, homemade cakes and things. It's not breakfast. It's the joy. It's staying there and enjoying the living. And this is something that you can see, because people that are there, they can see the order, they can see how we pick things, how we prepare, and how when arrives the milk and fresh, when all these things arrive. And it's really fun. I tell you, I chose to work there, even if I did other things with the tourism and international projects and things, because it's a life, it's a style of life. I live in the countryside, and when I go there, I feel like, wow, you look flowers everywhere. There, in this moment we're in my house, I say, but and the venue is beautiful. It's really beautiful. In the venue, and something very interesting. In the venue, inside the venue, in the hill, we have horses, and we have also a laboratory of ceramics. The laboratory Innocenti, they still work with the 700 techniques, and it's a real laboratory. It's not a show for tourists. It's a real laboratory. They work, they live there, they work there, and whoever pass by, they can get inside. It's like a house of it's a forest house, little, and they are still working, and they sell their ceramics all over the world, because they're really, the technique is really interesting. It's maiolic, but antique maiolic, and they also have a shop in Ponte Vecchio. But is the life is generations they work there, and they're still working there with antique techniques, and it's so fascinating to see how they do it. And this is the
No,
interesting thing.
absolutely. Sorry, Marina. And yes, about the experiences, honestly, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about different type of experiences, but just in a little bit. Also, our friend from Capri was mentioning the cooking classes on how we can show literally people from around the world how easy it is to have great food at home. You can make it yourself, and it's not that difficult, especially when we're talking about Italian cuisine, that it's very different from the French, and Italian and French being usually considered the two top in the world. They are very, very different one to the other, where the French has always been, not in a bad way, but complicated, while Italian has always started from a poor background. And so Italian cuisine, it's easy to be made at home. Of course, pasta is not going to come out perfect the first time you try, most likely not even the second or third, but you're going to get there. But before we get into the experiences and a little more about Tuscany, just to a little anecdote, let's say. One thing that I dread is when I go to a place that has the photos of the dishes on the menu. In Tuscany, it's literally the opposite. You can see the food with your eyes around you before you eat it. So you don't need a photo on the menu, because everything that you eat is literally around you, growing around you, aging in the cellar underneath you, or being prepared around the corner. So that's the difference between a photo of a pasta dish and seeing literally where your sauce is growing, where your flour is growing, where your eggs are going to be laid, and so on. So it's totally different. And sorry, just still another second, Marina. Before we go on, for those who have logged in later on, not at the beginning, we have this giveaway, and the only thing that you need to have your name in the pot is to say hello. Simple as that, because we have a lot of people watching, following. So just say hello, and it will be a hint for us. Sorry, Marina, I needed to remind a couple of times.
Interesting. Important. So
sorry.
I wanted to tell you something about this, about the cooking. We have the bottega, a place where you can just get there, get wherever you want, anytime. It's open all day. And actually people cook behind a window. They cook in front of the people. The kitchen, there's a glass, and you can see how they are cooking, how they're making the pasta, how they're making the bread, every day, all the time. And also when we have weddings, for example, we make a pizza party the day before, because when people arrive, usually they are tired, they are all together already, and they want to stay together, and they want to have some dinner. So we organize an open pizza party. We have an oven, antique oven, and the people can see how pizza is made. It's there outside. So it is like living the experience. It's not only telling you, or it's not only, but it's real. You are there, we make the table, people love to have Italian style, sometimes the trays, or just served, but it's the atmosphere. You are in the middle of the vineyards, you are outside. It's like the old families, they used to sit down and they used to have a party, or they used to every Sunday eat all together. And this is what we try to offer to the people, a real experience. And again, that's what you feel here, but because it's real, every day everybody does at home. It's not
Exactly.
something special.
And we just have now Will and Alex with us, and they are a couple that is planning with us, and they're actually getting married in Apulia, which is another, let's say, region in Italy that has big history, lot of traditions, and that has been able to turn around, to welcome, ciao Will, ciao Alex, to turn around and to welcome groups, weddings, and in regards to experience, as Alex and Will are doing, and as we have literally been specializing the past few years, what I usually tell my couples is that the experience that we as wedding planners want to give is not a memory of a venue for your wedding, but we want to give them the experience of you going back after 1 year, after 5, with your kids later on, to a town that you feel it's yours, to a valley, to, well, I wouldn't go as wide as call it a region that you feel yours, but it's not a venue. It's something that you have to experience. And sorry, Marina, ciao Becky, ciao Iwan. They are married with us as well. Thank you very much. And so what we want to give our couples is the experience of having a second home country. And some regions of Italy are easier to work with in this regard. Of course, Venice is amazing, but is Venice, is unique in the world, is a city. While countryside is different because you can give this experience. You can have a welcome day with pizza and pasta. You can have a second day with the wedding. You can have a third day and never starting too early because everybody's a little tipsy from the day before and such. But you can have a brunch or a pool day. So we try to create an experience that is beyond the day of the wedding, especially because the day of the wedding for the bride and groom flies by too fast. And having a wedding made up of multiple days, multiple events, allows you to relax the day after, welcome your guests, but without stress the day before. So we try to create, as you were saying, Marina, an experience. So now, this is my point. I will leave you the further comments.
Absolutely, I agree completely with what you're saying, because this is what happens. For example, in Lavacchio, the venue, the family, Faye, Dimitri, Charlotte, Sasha, they are the family. They live there. And it's big, it's enormous. There's a villa, there's like a board. But what I tell you is that the welcoming is real. It's not that you're going to a hotel, and is that we will have people coming. It's fun. For me, my job is the best because I really have fun. And then when people leave, it's like, oh my goodness, they're leaving. And then the year after, when they go to the honeymoon, they send us photos. And I have all this relation with the people that had got married even 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Some of them, they still come, or they come from the anniversary, or we are in touch, we are friends, for Rise Christmas, and we do a Skype all together. It's like you really have a feeling. You go to a place, you meet people, you enjoy. And another thing interesting is that when we have weddings, for example, I talk about the weddings because obviously it's my work, but as well because it's a feeling. Because we have people they meet with the families, and often they don't see each other so often. Sometimes we have people that the parents live in one place, the brothers in another one. This is the wedding is an occasion to meet all together and to stay 3 or 4 days all together. So you have a venue all for you, and it's really a party.
Exactly. And our job, of course, sorry Marina, if I interrupted you, our job, of course, is different. I mean, we have 2 different jobs. The aim is, of course, the same, but what you mentioned about the gathering is true, and it's extremely important because working with destination weddings, we have couples, let's say, from Dubai, but they weren't born there. We have the bride from Germany and the groom from Brazil. So the groom's brother is in New York and the bride's family is in the UK. And we need, along with people like you and venues like yours, of course, to make sure that we plan everything so that it's time to relax. And as I said, there is going to be stress for the bride and groom because it's emotional. So that nobody can take away. You are going to be more stressed than your guests. But the day before, the day after, making sure that we give enough time for people to get to know each other, to create a relationship, so that on the day of the wedding, then they talk to each other as friends because they had a chance to meet and to chat the day before. So it's all about literally the experience.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I can read what Capri Tour is saying, a huge difference between a hotel and family bed and breakfast. Absolutely. And a venue in the countryside could be big or small, but we're talking about houses. We are talking about farms. We are talking about antique places with a charm and also with a history that you can feel and you can breathe everywhere. So when you are there, you have your time, your pace. People need whatever. If we settle, for example, a ceremony at 5, but they decide to do it at 5:30, we do at 5:30. If there's need guests enjoy breakfast is from 8 to 10, but the day after the wedding is obviously not between 8 and 10 because nobody gets up at the time. So we just make it longer, or we establish a different time and do it later. If somebody gets up early because the grandmother gets up early, we give her tea, biscuits, and wherever she wants. So this is the way. You really is like a dress. We put it to you as you like it because you have to live a nice experience. But this is not a good way of doing things. It's life. It's the way. Tuscany, like I can read Capri, like Puglia, like they're genuine. People live like this. Really, it's difficult not to suit our guests because our guest is somebody is coming to visit us, is staying with us for a few days. It's not just a tourist. It's people that are staying with us. So we really, it's like when we have a relative is coming to visit us, we just really want to offer the best because for us it's a good thing as well. It's fun. The people that work is a team. We are like a family. It's not somebody in charge of something. It's like we really love each other. We really like each other. And so you can feel this. When you are in a place, you can just feel the atmosphere. You can feel the welcoming. No problem about things that may happen at the last moment. I arrive before, I arrive later. Check-in is at a certain time, but if we have people arriving in the morning, you are welcome. If you arrive at 2 in the afternoon. So we try to run to make their beds. Otherwise, we offer you a nice glass of wine, get you the towels, go to the swimming pool. We take care of you. So which means that you are really is Italian welcoming. Tuscany is famous also for this kind of character, and this is inside the people. It's not something built. It's something genuine. It's something tradition. It's our family taught us when we were children. So we pass by, and we live in this way. And this is something nice because when you want to enjoy an event important, like it could be a wedding or a celebration or wherever, you enjoy it. You are relaxed. You don't have to worry about all the stress of things because you're really enjoying. Whatever happens, you just feel it. And this is something we try to transmit to people. Another thing interesting is that the venues, again, Lavacchio in this case, but others as well, are settled in a place that is incredible. Wherever you move, wherever you just turn around, is beautiful the place, nearby, full of interesting things. Nearby any art, we have Florence is full of art, but the countryside is incredible. We have castles, we have villas, we have jewelry. There were the Romans passed by because the Cassia Vetus was passing by there, the first road in the entire history of the humanity. The Romans built it, the motorway, the Roman motorway. Then we have the Etruscans in that area lived as well before the Romans. We have in the valley I was talking about before, we have a museum, because a very antique museum from the 700 with the mammoth, because the fossils, because there was life already on those times. It was very fertile. And this is the reason why there is still this flavor in the place. Plus, obviously, is clean, no industry, no. So we are in the countryside. We are between birds and all organic everywhere. So it's like nature feels this as well. So you can see animals, and in the evening, for example, there are some bambies coming around, and incredible birds, and nature is free. It's like very really. I don't know how to say. Have you seen the film of the Snow White? Or it's like a little bit like that, because when I go home in the evening, I always cross the Bambi with the mother. I always cross the. It's like the places like this. The horses live free, the animals live free, and we really care about the nature a lot, a lot, a lot, and about the people, because everything is clean, no chemicals, nowhere is eco label. So which means that we really is, that's also no a label like that. It's a style of life. You say no chemical, no chemical. So if
Yes.
somebody's
And
allergic, somebody's intolerant, somebody's no bother. We can have a party of 100 people and 20 people don't eat that, and another people is intolerant. There's for everybody. No gluten, no this, no problem, because the characteristics have to be adapted. And at the end, people feel well as well. When you go away, you have a big dinner for wedding, but the day after you are feeling well. You are not just kill yourself. This is something interesting. You eat as much as you like, but then because it's genuine, it's clean, it's organic, and this is something interesting and important as well. I think when you
no, absolutely. And other than food, this also relates to wine, which is big part of a wedding. If the wine is good, you drink a lot, you get tipsy, of course, you get happy, you sing along, but you're going to get up in the morning. You're not going to stay in bed until 3 in the afternoon with a headache. And that's a big difference. And it's
can I
basically
tell
the
you
difference that
one just little thing about this? Lavacchio makes also, apart from organic, the wine without sulfites. It's been the first one in the world to make the wine without sulfites, which means that in a natural way, which is not so easy. And it's something, was an experiment. They weren't sure how it's going to come out, and it came out a beautiful, incredible wine. And not only then the know-how of how making it, they pass it to other farms, and now they are in Italy. I think there are around 10, 12. I'm not sure. And in other places around the world, there are some farms that are making wine without sulfites, and this is something very interesting as well. You were talking about wine.
no, absolutely. And for those in general that are watching us or that will watch us on YouTube later on, sulfites basically have been added in the past 150 years, that more or less, to wine, and they simply help the fermentation process of the grapes. So it's a little easier, let's say, to make wine. It's not something that it's crazy modern or chemical or such, but doing it without goes literally back to history. So again, we are talking about something that couldn't literally be any more traditional, because any more traditional than this, you just pick the grape and eat it, but of course it's not wine. But this is the most natural and traditional way to make wine. And sorry, Marina, before you mentioned these, I was talking about the hotels that you were discussing also, and our friend in Capri mentioned. And we have some couples that when they contact us, they tell us that they want to be in Italy. Of course, they want to have a great time and such, and they are open to a villa, a hotel, or a castle. And it literally takes no time to explain that if you go to Mexico, and I'm not talking about any of the details that I'm mentioning, it's just different areas of the world. But if you go to Mexico, you have the resorts. If you have your wedding in the UK, you have a certain type of venues that you can choose from. But when you come to Italy, a hotel, of course, today might be a Hilton, tomorrow might be a Sheraton. It doesn't give you the memory that you want for a destination wedding. And it's a lot of times cheaper, 100% of times a better experience because they get to meet people like you and like your staff. So it takes literally no time to show our couples that Italy has everything and anything to offer, and the hotel is of course going to be great for some of your guests for accommodation, but as far as the wedding setting, Italy can do much better than that.
I can tell you something about this as well. For
I'm all
example,
ears.
a place like Lavacchio has 84 beds, sleeping places, which is big. And people that come, they get all the services. They get the minibar, the Wi-Fi, parking. They get a service, bring the luggage home to the room, accompany to your room. So the standard is quite high. We have like a 4-star standard, nearly 5. And even
No,
if it's in
no.
the countryside.
No,
So
no,
we
but absolutely, it's not a matter of the number of rooms or beds, the type of service, because, I mean, talking to you, people already surely understand that the care that you have for them is, well, 4, 5, 7 stars, whatever is the best that you can give, they will have. And so it's not a matter of number of stars or number of rooms, whether you're big or small, but let's say hotel chains and big cement modern buildings. Let's say it's not the best that Italy has to offer. Italy has to offer literally what's in your background: bricks, ivy, flowers, a lovely lady, and a lovely team. And so you don't need to go with a name that has been in the business like Hilton or Sheraton. But of course, the choice is important. But Italians, as far as venues, will go literally that step, that extra step to make you feel at home, and feeling at home is something that you do when you step into a home.
Yeah. Another interesting thing, everything is nice. There are different choices depending on what you do, a holiday or whatever. But because also in the city, there are hotels and everything. Another thing interesting about these kind of places here is like you are nearby everything. So even if you are in the middle of the countryside, things are 20 minutes far away, like Florence for half an hour or 20 minutes. Then we have a valley. We have the biggest shopping place. I don't want to make publicity to anybody, but it's just there because the 40% of the high fashion in the world, I'm not talking about just Italy, in the world is produced in this area. But homemade, handmade, which means that we have big firms that I want to say, I don't want to talk about, I don't want to give a publicity to them, but even if I love them, because I know them as well, and but they're here because the sewing of the big things is done handmade by people that know how to do it. Handcraft, the excellence. We are talking about handcraft, we are talking about fashion so really as it used to be. We are talking about genuinity that is still here. We are trying to conserve all this. So places like this venue with the ceramics I was talking about, the food, the windmill and all these things. The laboratories of handcraft that we have all around us, the art that we have in the venue, nearby, and also in the cities that are just half an hour from us. Because if you want to go to Siena, if you want to go to Arezzo, in 1 hour you are there. If you want to go to Pisa, in 1 hour and a half you are there. If you want to go to Florence, in half an hour you are there. So which means that you can really enjoy the heart of Tuscany all around, and you can enjoy also the countryside, the peace, the quiet, and the paradise for me. As it is
No, absolutely.
Cagliari.
And sorry, Marina, if I interrupted you. This is something that it's very important to a lot. Well, to pretty much every couple. And when you mentioned Pisa is within an hour, Florence is within about 30 minutes. A lot of couples, of course, coming from abroad, having guests from all over the world, they don't want to travel too far away from an international airport. And I completely agree with them. You don't want your guests to have a trip, get to Italy, and have another trip. And as you mentioned, Pisa has an international airport. Florence does as well. And Italy in general, unless we go in some mountain areas or some specific area, but in general, Italy, wherever you want to go, you are within an hour at most from an international airport. You can go shopping in, well, names, the boutique that have names in Beverly Hills or Via della Spiga in Milano or in anywhere. So the names are there, the shopping is there. Even if the brides mostly have already done the shopping before coming over for the wedding, and the grooms hate us for saying this, but shopping is here. Traveling, visiting, basically everything is not, of course, around the corner, but within an hour, everything can be reached. And well, I'm not going into detail, but even more with the high-speed trains, you can literally leave Milan in the morning, have lunch in Florence, dinner in Rome, and be back in your hotel room in Milan to sleep, just to make it as crazy as possible. So Italy, well, luckily, because it has been the country's work for the train, the geography, and a little bit of everything put together, but it's a lucky spot.
Yeah, I tell you something interesting. We are in the countryside. We are in the high hills, and from our venue to the nearest train station, there's 7 minutes drive. From the train station, there are 3 stops to Santa Maria Novella, to the main center of the city, which means that we are there. Half an hour from the train station, there's shift and to the airport, and it's only half an hour. So it's really, really easy and short. So this is quite like an advantage as well, because you can go in the middle of the countryside and no worry about moving. We organize transfers, shifts, and it's very easy, or public transportation, or with a taxi, or whatever. It's really easy, fast and easy. And this is lucky us again.
No, exactly. And on our side, honestly, it's exactly the same that we do. We know which airport your wedding party is arriving at. If we know that 8 people or 10 or 50 are arriving together, we arrange for a bus or a minivan or a taxi. So, well, literally, we are on the same page. We do our best. We are lucky that we are in Italy, and it's easy, you know, because Italy is beautiful. And as we said, moving around, it's not difficult. Food is great. So Italy, under this point of view, is easy. So for us, lucky for everyone that comes visiting you, that marries with us, that marries in general here in Italy, that comes to Italy. And Marina, we are just like in the bigger talk shows, we are just about out of time. So before letting you go, for the last time, let me remind everybody watching that we have a giveaway, and the only thing that you need to do is say hello. Having watched our live, say hello, beginning, middle, or end. Whenever I remembered, I reminded you, sorry about it, but just do it whenever you please, and you will be entitled to this giveaway. It's something nice that we wanted to do in this time where a lot of people are at home. Marina has been lovely here with us. Yes, and sorry, Marina, there is a little bit of misconnection, let's say. So I will tell our viewers that if you want some details about Fattoria Lavacchio, Marina, feel free to write to us, social media, WhatsApp, wherever you want, to Marina directly. If you have any question, whether you are working with us or not, we are happy to answer. We're just here to help, and as you can see, we have fun doing it. So that's all. Marina, I don't know
Thank
if
you.
you are still exactly with us.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you very much for the invitation. It was a pleasure, and it was really nice chat. And thank you so much. Thank you to everybody, and stay safe.
Thanks,
And
Marina.
nice nice seeing you.
Thank you, everyone with us. Ciao. Happy weekend.
Thank you. Thank you to all of you.
Ciao, ciao, ciao.